So how much do you guys know about the book of Revelation and the end of the world?
Yep. Yeah.
Like, how much do you know?
I've read it like at least 5 times.
I'm sure I know some of it, but I'm sure there's much more for me to learn that I have not yet read up on.
Honestly, I think it's the most interesting book in the Bible.
It's the book of has the most prophecy in it. It's like it's a book entirely of prophecy, and none of it's been fulfilled yet. So,
and some fun facts about it is that John the Apostle probably wrote this, and it was most likely written from 90 to 96 AD. That the entire book was sent to 7 different churches in Asia to warn, basically to strengthen their faith, so that way they don't fall away from Jesus. And the book is basically about the supernatural, life and death, and just telling us how the world's gonna end and how to prepare for that. So it all starts with John getting a vision. And here it says John's vision of Christ. And verse 11 of chapter 1 says, "Write on a scroll what you see and send it to the 7 churches of Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea." And verse 12 says, "I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me. And when I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And among the lampstands was like the Son of Man, dressed in a robe reaching down to his feet, and with a golden sash around his chest. The hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like a blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters." Now, I suspect he's talking about Jesus here, like, Jesus talking to him. Verse 16 says, "In his right hand he held 7 stars, and coming out of his mouth was a sharp double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. When I saw him, I fell at his feet as though dead. Then he placed his right hand on me and said, 'Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I was dead, and now look, I am alive forever and ever. And I hold the key of death and Hades.'" Now, what he means by Alpha and Omega, which basically it's the first and the last. To us, that would be A and Z. And verse 19 says, "Therefore, what you have seen, what is now and what will take place later, the mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand, and of the 7 golden lampstands is this: 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches." And then it just lists to the church in Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, and all the 7 churches. And in chapter 4, verse 1, it says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a door, standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, 'Come here, and I will show you what must take place after this.' At once I was in the Spirit, and there before me was a throne in heaven with someone sitting on it. and the one who sat there had an appearance of jasper and ruby. A rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne. And then it just goes through and it tells about the angels worshiping. And then it goes through the scrolls. The scroll of the Lamb, which is, the scroll has 7 seals. The first seal, it says, "Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, 'Come.' And I looked, there before me was a white horse, and its rider held a bow. Then he was given a crown, and he rode as a conqueror bent on conquest." Now, I think that's the first of the 4 horsemen to come. Verse 3 says, "When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, 'Come.' Then another horse came out, a red, fiery one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth, and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword." And the third seal, the rider is described as holding a pair of scales in his hands. And the creature says, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wage, 6 pounds of barley for a day's wage, and do not damage the oil and the wine. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm guessing that might prophesy that there are going to be rations in the last days. And the fourth creature, it's described as riding a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over 1/4 of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and beasts of the earth. And it just goes through saying what, like, everything that he's gonna do and how he's gonna wreak havoc upon the earth.
Revelation can be a scary book because we don't know exactly what's going to happen when the end times come. I mean, we obviously do a little bit with the Bible, but a lot of it is symbolism. We know there's going to be, like, in the end, there's going to be a war, like an actual war, not like spiritual warfare, but an actual war between angels and demons, and that's pretty intense. And it's kind of interesting to think about the end times and, like, when the world's going to end, but it's also kind of scary at times because it talks about what it talks about. Let me see if I can find here. It says, like, the time has come for judging the dead and for rewarding your servants and prophets, and your people who will revere your name, both great and small, and for destroying those who destroy the earth. It's pretty scary to think about because you're going to be judged by God, but He's a just judge. It's hard to say, but it's still kind of scary though, because, like, God knows, like, everything you've ever done, and even Christians won't lose salvation. They might lose some rewards though, and it would probably be scary. Like, imagine, like, standing in a line to be judged by God. And there's also, like, before all that happens, there's just be a bunch of crazy stuff that happens to the earth, and a lot of people are going to die, including Christians. It's, like, it's scary to think about, but ultimately we can rejoice when this is happening, because all this has to happen so Jesus can come down and take us up all of heaven so we can live with Him in eternity. So it might seem bad in the beginning, but we're going to come back to it. And it's all gonna benefit us in the end.
Alright, since we're talking about end times, I thought I might bring up the rapture. And a lot of, quite a few Christians that I've talked to don't know what the rapture are, haven't heard of it before or heard of it and haven't got a grasp on it. So I'm kind of explaining it. So what the rapture is when Jesus comes back to get his people, and the trumpets are blown, and we are met up in the clouds. And it's unexpected because the Bible says no man knows the day nor hour. And so the Bible says Jesus doesn't even know when the rapture is going to happen. So nor do the angels. So only God does. So be prepared for the rapture. What you can do, really just don't be afraid. What I did when I was younger, I used to really be tormented by it and afraid of it, but God has really worked on my heart with that and realized like there's nothing to be afraid of because you got God on your side. He's always gonna be there with you. He says that he'll never leave you nor forsake you. So there's no reason to be afraid. Just keep living for him, keep a constant relationship with him, and you're nothing to be afraid of.